Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me this holiday season. The holidays always like catch up to me and take me by surprise. But when I was planning this class, I was excited to find a way to incorporate the holidays into something that I love to draw and that's authentic and sort of shows up in my work a lot, which is shop fronts. I love all the character. It's almost like they have like a personality, and I've drawn so many that I now like kind of have things memorized, and I wanted to share so that you can all draw a simple, fun shop front too. Um, I'm Samantha Dion Baker. I should have said that first, and I'm in my studio in Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, I do. If you don't know my work, I have books called Draw Your Day, Draw Your World, and I'm writing a new book, Draw Your Adventures. And my work is all sort of based on being inspired by and drawing the world around you and your experiences in a sketchbook or just in your artwork. And it's sort of a way to appreciate and look and be in the moment and record memories. So I'm going to, well, I guess, yes, we moved over to my desk. We're going to get started. And I've got a bunch of Derwent materials here. And the main material that we're going to start with is a pencil. I've got a 3B and a 2B pencil here. I'll probably just be using the 2B pencil. I like to work with a slightly softer point, softer graphite. So we're going to be sketching. I do have an eraser. I'm going to, try and limit the use of that, but it's always good to have as we're sketching and planning. And I'm going to be using my Derwent Inktense paints. I cleaned up this palette, so it looks a little bit better than it did about 15 minutes ago. But I love these paints and I use them all the time. So I also have the metallic set. Just I might throw in some metallics just for the holidays to be, festive, some gold and maybe silver. Okay, so this is the paper that I'm using is the Derwent Light Fast paper, which I really like because it is smooth. And I personally, because I like to use ink and various mixed media, I prefer to have smoother paper rather than like a cold press with texture. Okay, so this shop front, the little shop that we're going to make is sort of a combination of all the different things while also simplifying. And there is a lot of symmetry in what we're going to be creating and a lot of just simple shapes. So what you're going to do, I don't use a ruler. You're welcome to, and you're welcome to make yours as precise as you want, but I kind of like to have my lines be a little wonky and some of them not perfectly straight. It just, I think, adds character. So I'm just going to start with one line right here, not quite, basically kind of almost in the middle of the page. That's going to be this one of the sort of top lines of the windows on our shop. And it is, a made up length, just kind of getting a basic like rectangle shape going here to fill the page that I'm using. So we have one long rectangle, and in that space, we're gonna divide it by 3. So I'm eyeing this again. It is your choice to make this as precise as you would like. So it looks like my center is a little bit narrower. So it's almost even, but these are going to be the side windows and they are a little bit more square. But there's no rules. There's no like, you don't have to be precise with this. Okay. So This is basically where the door is going to be, and these are the side windows. That's it. Super simple. And we start with these basic shapes, and then we just keep going from there. So there is going to be a vanishing point. If I'm standing like kind of back from the entrance of the shop, I'm going to put my eye level just about here, which is like maybe 2/3 of the way down. And if it helps for your drawing, you can just put a horizon line there, because the horizon line is always at eye level. So everything that we do, all the lines that sort of come, all of the like sidewalk lines and the entry, the little like welcome mat, they're all gonna, there's this one point in the middle. So it's 1 point perspective, and we're just looking straight on in the middle, and everything's gonna come and splay from that. So the next line that I'm going to create is the sort of bottom of the windows. I'm just going to put that about here. So this is the bottom, like old time, like wood panel. You know, as you're walking by the shop, there's like, you can see in these big windows, but then there's these wood panels at the bottom. And so really all we have right now are these two side squares with these wood panels at the bottom. Very simple. And your proportions can be slightly up or down, or sort of, you know, doesn't have to match this exactly. So then we have, I'm going to make the door. So I'm just going to do like a rectangle in the middle here. This is going to be our shop door. And it's set inside a little bit. The vanishing point helps us here because I can create like a little welcome mat and a little sort of the area where you're kind of going into the shop. So I hope this makes sense. Then we have the top panel. Maybe there's like a little a canopy that's at the top. We'll just make like a little, maybe a rolled back canopy, which is just a thin horizontal bar, and it like sort of comes out on the sides. And then we have at the top the area and where the Shopfront name is going to be. Super simple shapes. So the vanishing point in this point here is going to help us also with the sidewalk lines. So if you just sort of roughly, again, it does not have to be exact, but these are help give perspective to the shop if you're looking straight on the lines and sections of the sidewalk. So I live in New York City, so this is some like a sort of something that I see a lot. Okay. Then we're going to put in the middle of our door. I'm going to start, actually, I'm going to erase some of this now because I think we're kind of done with it's very basic. We're kind of done with the perspective. This is going to be, as you're walking into this little entryway, this is the wood panels on the side at the bottom here that continues in. So, and anytime that there's a corner, I just usually make like a few lines. Maybe there's some wood, there's like a wood border here. There's also like, I can do this with my ink as well. So I'm not going to add too much with the pencil, But then there's a window in the door, another square. You're going to have a little handle, maybe a little lock. Lots of little lines there for all the framing of the door. And yeah, that's like squares within squares, shapes that echo shapes. So we've got this, the bottom part of the doorway that's kind of echoing this panel here and this panel here. Okay, now you're gonna have, usually the shops are like in New York anyway, they're kind of, these old school looking shops have windows above, like at the bottom of an apartment building. So I'm gonna add just a hint of 2 windows. And usually, you know, it's pretty symmetrical. So I'm just eyeing this, but I'm gonna add another window here. And there's, again, more lines. Well, I'll do this in the ink when I do the actual drawing. I like to, and I'll do this also with my pen, but I like to add like little hints of the brick just to give it a little context. All right. The other thing that I want to sketch before I go into using my pen, and we're using Derwent line maker pens. I've got 2 of them. I'll go into which ones and the point size when I get to that phase. So if you wanted to plan out words happy holidays here, and you want to make sure that your spacing is even, this is a little like game that I play. So if you count out happy, I'm writing this very small, happy holidays, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the space is another 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, which is great because that's an even number. There's 14 equal spaces to plan out and make sure that the letters spread across really evenly. So a trick that I do is sometimes I'll just, especially if there's a lot of letters, I'll put in the first letter and then the last letter. And then you kind of like count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That was pretty good. So if I count 7 over, this is going to be the wait, HAP. This is a space. The middle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The H is the middle. So this is around where the holidays would be. So I kind of put in, there's a space. So you can kind of play around with the amount of letters and like planning out how to space it so that you don't, like if you just start writing happy holidays, the chances of it fitting are, you know, you have to have a really good eye. And I have a like good foresight because I have done this so many times, but if you do want to break it down, you can just, you know, break down the space that you have by the letters that you're going to fit in that space and like kind of break it down mathematically. Okay, so I have a line maker 0.1 that I'm going to start using my to start outlining. Yeah, if there's any questions, I see people are asking for a template. Yeah, I don't do, I didn't even think about that, but I don't know. I mean, what I want is for people to really make this their own. So you can follow me exactly, or you can kind of play around with your own proportions and your own, and can do this in your own style. Are there any other questions, Molly, or no?
No, it looks like someone just asked how you added depth to the door walls.
To the door walls?
Yes, that's the question.
So I had put in a vanishing point, and I showed that as I was sketching. And so all these lines meet at that vanishing point. So that's how I determined. So you can kind of see the point here. I don't want to put it down in ink, but it was right here. And then that's how I determined these lines. There's a lot of 1 and 2 point perspective that I might take for granted people understand and know, but it is, if you break it down, it is pretty simple. There's just usually 1 point, and then everything kind of splays from that 1 point. I talk about 1 and 2 point perspective in my books, break it down there. And then we've done a few other classes with with Derwent and Michael's that are on my website that are also perspective classes. So now I can have fun, and I can start to play around with how I fill the space. Once I get the basic things down, the basic lines, I always start with a pencil sketch. You know, you can make a little shop just really quirky and fun and carefree with just a pen or just paints. This is kind of my process, is to go pencil first, then ink, and then I add paint. But if you think, like, we've got 1 shape, 2 shapes, a bottom panel, and then the canopy and the top, and anything from there is just free play. I might add like a little inlay, like a little frame. Sometimes they'll have little panels, and it can just, all the lines will just follow the same angles. Right. I do want to get to what's inside the windows, which is going to be the festive, fun part. Just gonna keep going with my ink here kind of quickly. Okay, now for the happy holidays, I'm gonna just have fun making these like a little bit playful. I'm kind of just going around my quick letters. I'm not making it perfect. I'm keeping it playful. Okay, so now I'm going to take a thicker pen. This one is the 0.8, so the line is going to be a little bit thicker, and I'm just going to add a little bit of weight to certain lines just to give a little bit more emphasis and depth to them. Anywhere where there might be a little bit of a shadow, I'm just adding weight to those lines. I'm gonna be going back and forth and back and forth with my pens. All right, now I'm going to have this little mat, just like in my teaser image. I'm gonna have the mat say welcome. I just wrote like really small in script, welcome. And zoomed in there, you can see how messy my piece is. Okay, now I'm gonna add the festive stuff. And this is gonna be just really free. Anything that you want to add in the windows is totally up to you. At this point, it's like little blank canvases and you can just have fun. I am gonna connect these two here. Top of the shop, I don't know that. All right, now, okay, for this side, I've decided I'm going to maybe do a few little shelves. And maybe add a few, maybe books here. And I can add a little wagon. Maybe there's some holiday ornaments in there. And more books. So that's on one shelf. The bottom might have like some Christmas garland. Is that what this is called? And then maybe up here there's a teddy bear. Mm. Some blocks or something. And then here I'm going to add just to include all the holidays or more holidays. There'll be a little menorah here. And maybe some more boxes. So that's in that side. And the other side, I'm going to add a tree. I can add color and all sorts more fun decorations to the tree when when I add the paint. So anything can be in your window. I'm just maybe here there's some balls hanging. And I'm gonna add a few gifts. Okay. When the ink dries, I can erase some more of the pencil. But in the meantime, I'm gonna add a few bricks to the wall here. And I just usually make these lines like very, like sporadic. I don't, again, this is just a personal choice, but some of them show up and some don't. Maybe like the way that it's painted, you can only make out some of the bricks. Just trying to avoid having to draw them all. This is a nice way of doing that. So just random few bricks here and there. Just give it like context on the street. And some of those bricks can be on this side. All right. And the other thing I was gonna thinking like sometimes outside of these shops, in my sample image, I had a donation wagon, which is always a nice thing to add for like a holiday shop. But I'm gonna add a plant here. And maybe the plant has some Christmas balls in it, some colorful Christmas decorations. And then you can continue the sidewalk there. Okay, if anybody has any questions at this point, this is my basic like shop front outline. It's playful, it's joyful. There's lots of different things in the windows. It's completely up to you how you want to fill those windows up. And maybe right here, I just forgot in the window, maybe there's a little sign that says open. So yeah, I'm quickly looking over at the message at the chat, and if you use waterproof ink, you can paint right over it. And so these line maker pens are completely waterproof. It is good to give it a little bit of time to dry before you erase and even before you add paint, just to make sure that the ink seeps in to the paper and dries. I'm going to erase some of these lines now because I've waited enough time. Sometimes I leave my pencil lines because I kind of like them messy, and I embrace all the history of the process. But in this case, I'm gonna erase. And then my little notes here, if you work light enough in pencil, it's always nice to be able to even make practice notes or guidelines. Because if you work lightly enough, a plastic eraser will pick it all up, completely disappear. So even my little notes about the amount of letters and happy holidays and helping me space that out, I can completely erase. Okay, good enough. Now I'm going to start to paint. I'm using the Derwent water brushes. I use them all the time. Usually I'll just have 3 of them with me, although if you buy the set, there are 4. I love using the big flat one to get solid color down. Now it's good to keep in mind like the shop color. Usually, I mean, these shops have so much personality, like I was saying, and the color of these panels, the frame of the door, and then this sign area usually, or like it, well, in this case, I mean, anything goes, but it's the same color. And so for this one, I'm gonna be using a, I just really love this like kind of green teal color. So it's teal green mixed with a little bit of racing green, just like a really rich kind of green color, but not bright. If you want your shop front to be like really Christmassy or really specific to the holidays, you can go bright green, or red, if it's a Christmas store. But I'm using this kind of neutral color. So the great thing about these paints is you can layer them. The wide flat brush keeps me really loose, and so I like to go into large shapes using this brush. And I've got a good amount of pigment, but it's not, it's still washy. Like there's still, you can still see through. So I can still see my ink lines. Looks like you sometimes have to be careful if you're working on a smaller piece. The brush can definitely not fit the space, but I tend to keep making it work for these because like I said, it keeps it loose. So if little lines like come out, I actually like that. Like if I don't stay all within my lines, it kind of keeps my drawings like imperfect and more playful, to have it not be like super, super precise. But that's just a personal choice. Okay, now I think for these, because I want to go around the letters, I do have to use a smaller brush. But and since I've got that color going, I will continue that. But I will go back to the flat brush for the sidewalk and the brick wall. Okay, so now I've got the medium sized brush, and I'm going to just paint these little panels and the front door. So quiet. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to, now that I'm painting, I'm happy to answer anything. And no questions, great. This would be a good time when the if you in a recorded class where it's sped up to fast forward through this phase of painting around the letters. Unfortunately, I can't speed it up. There's, yeah, sometimes this paint will go down thicker, but if you work with it pretty quickly, you can kind of blend it. It's too much water. That's okay, because I have some white paint that I'll share with you also. Do this quickly.
And there's a quick question asking, do you prefer sketching from your imagination or looking for something for inspiration?
Um, it's always so satisfying to go from memory, just oh, sorry, I banged my camera here. Um, but I have to admit that most of the time I work from reference or life. For me, I don't like make up a lot of characters or work from my imagination too much. And I usually draw things pretty literally, but like as they are in life. But if I can draw something enough and draw it from memory, it's just it's a nice feeling. And drawing, I always say is really memory. I mean, it if you think about when you learned to write letters when you were young, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. If you do something enough, it just becomes like a muscle memory. In my books, I talk about drawing from life, memory, and reference, and I I use all three. Is okay. I've got that pretty a little uneven, but you can go in and add layers later, which that's one of the things I love about these paints. So, but this is taking long, so I'm just going to try and speed through this. But hopefully this taking the time to paint around these letters is letting you all do your thing too if you're painting along with me, which I hope you are. I said I was going to stop and now I'm okay. All right, now we will move on. I'm just going to add another layer here because as it goes back into space, it might get a little bit darker, these panels. So I'm just adding like a little bit of shadow. Okay. So we have to add shadow to the windows and all of that. I'm going to go back to my big brush. And I'm using black and a little bit of Payne's gray and then a little bit of brown just to keep it warm. And I'm just going to get the sidewalk. And this I'm being really light. Just putting paint down. I'm going to let that dry. First layer, be simple. Okay. Same thing is going to be with the bricks. And for this, I'm using the red ochre, just pretty much straight out of the pan. For the bricks.
Sam, what color was the sidewalk again?
It was a mixture of the black and Payne's gray, but like very, very light. Oh, and I added a little bit of brown just to put a little bit of warmth in it.
And then we have another question asking or stating that they started painting the letters and it got smudged with the green background of the
Oh,
storyboard. Any tips on how to fix that?
so the Derwent paints, the lighter you use them, they're more like watercolor. But if you really, really like dig into them, they will get more opaque. So but you know, there is a translucency. They're not like gouache. If you have some gouache, you can always go over it with that. More opaque paints. So I messed up a little bit here and I got a little bit of the green paint in the white letters. And this, I just always have this. It's Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I'm pretty sure Michael sells it. It's like really white wash. And I just have that because the white Derwent paint, it's really great because it gives like sort of a milky whiteness, but it doesn't get super opaque. So I always have this bleed proof white in my toolbox so that I can correct some mistakes. So that's a few tips. I mean, you know, there's always a way. If you're a pure watercolor artist, you know, sometimes those mistakes you just unfortunately have to like start over. There's no way around that, but yeah, the I don't I'm a mixed media person and I like there's always a way to fix things. So there's like a little I'm just sort of making this like sort of bleed off. You can always use tape if you want to have like a clean edge. There's some artist tape you can use to mask things off, but I'm not getting that. I like to have like the fuzzy edges. Okay, so there's the setting. Well, we're getting closer. I see I still have 15 minutes, which is great. So I'm going back to like a stone color, like the same, a little bit similar to the sidewalk, and I'm just going to be adding in a little bit of color to there's maybe a little bit of a shadow underneath to these windowsills. I'm just filling it in pretty quickly. All right, now I'm going to add the same color, Payne's gray and black, and we're going to just have our canopy. This can be any color. I mean, it can be a bright holiday color if you want. I'm going to let the, when I get to it, the holiday decorations pop the most. So I'm keeping things pretty neutral. And since I have that on my brush, I'm going to add just a little bit more shadow, right? And blend it. So I squeeze the water out so that it kind of blends. You have to work quickly with the Derwent paints. And you have, yeah, you have to work quickly. They dry fast. That. Okay. All right, now I'm going to start to add color, just bright colors. And I'll show how I add like a little bit of streaks and reflection in the windows. So now I'm using like the bright greens. I want this to be really fun and colorful, and was letting the background kind of be a little bit more subdued so that things can pop. I'll just add a little bit of shadow underneath the tree here, just so it's sitting on something. Okay. We have to have the doorway kind of continue to go back in space. So I'm just adding like a darkness here, like a going right over it so that it and this is the like great thing about these paints. If I just do like a light layer going right over, and then I can even blot it by adding just with my brush. Okay, that will dry back and it won't be as dark, but I just wanted to give depth so that these panels like really pop out. So, okay. Now, bright reds. Gotta have the bright reds. I can use my little brush for this, but for now I'm sticking with the mid-sized brush just because it again keeps things a little messy and loose, which I like. So I added a little bit of red. I'm gonna make the doormat red. So much brighter, and I feel like it looks a little darker on the monitor. I'm just gonna go in and show you. Yes, you can use white paint pens also. I'm seeing someone suggested that. I'm gonna do the same thing here with windows, just add a little bit of color. And those windows also could have some decorations in them. You can keep going. You can make this as festive as I'm going in and darkening the sides of the window. Okay, more bright colors. If you have some fluorescence or really, really bright colors, really, it's fun to add. I'm adding yellow to this gift. Maybe we'll make the open sign yellow. It's like a coloring book at this point. I'm just having fun coloring things in little wagon. And then I'm gonna make the teddy bear just like a brown bear color. Trying to work a little quickly here because we're running out of time. All right, now I'm using some pink. If you have paint pens, you can decorate your tree, you can decorate everything with those as well. I mean, there's so much you can do with various materials. We're just getting started here. I mean, so much. I have a few pens here, and I do have a Derwent paint pen. Sometimes these make me nervous because they leak a little, so I'm just going to test it out. But yeah, maybe there's some more decorations in the window here. And you can add like colorful dots with the paint pens. Makes it easier, actually. All right, once this is dry, now I wanna make sure before I do this, once it's pretty dry, I'm gonna just do like really, and I'm pretty sure I can do that here. I don't want to mess anything up, but just going over it just a little bit. Oh yeah, the paint pen does react to the water, so I have to be careful. Just a little bit, like as if there's like a reflection happening, um, and a little bit of shadow. So I just go right over it, like right over, just to give a little bit of like, you can, so it looks like all this stuff is behind a window. Now we're running out of time. I would add more layers to this, but I'm going to just keep it as simple as possible for now. We can add more. I'll just do it quickly. Orange, just to fill in a few of the missing spaces, unfilled in colorful things.
Hey,
Uh,
Sam, there's a question asking,
yeah.
do you clean your brushes after each color?
So I have a paper towel that's really messy, and I just blot it. So that it's pretty basic. It's not a paper towel, it's actually like a paint rag. But anything works. You can use a t-shirt. I always encourage people to use, you know, just kind of recycled things. So yeah, I do. I blot. Um, I'm just adding another bright color here. That's a good question. It's hard because not everything can be in the frame as I'm painting. Because I want you to see as much as just the piece as I can fit in. I didn't paint the pot. I'm gonna just make that like a terracotta kind of color. So with a little bit more opaque paint, I can do. And also sometimes if I put too much paint on the brush, I also do the same thing. I will blot it with the paper towel. The paper towel for me is very active. Like I'm using it all the time, and I have to go through a few of them sometimes. So I'm just now going to quickly add one little final touch because we are definitely out of time, which is just like a little shadow, a few more little shadows. And as you know, as you can tell, like I'm just making this up. So it's not, um, it's just anything goes. I mean, you shouldn't feel like you have to follow me exactly, but if you did, I would love to see. And I would also love to see your own interpretations of a holiday shop front. I mean, there's so many ways of playing around with this. And
And Sam,
I,
someone just asked, are you going to leave the Happy Holidays white?
yeah, I am. I think I am because it stands out that way. And if I had a white paint pen, I could use it, but I will show you how this works. Just since we have a minute, we have to end right at 3. Yeah. Do we, Felicia?
You can, you got a few minutes just to go over. And while you're doing that, someone
Mhm.
is wondering where they can post their paintings for Michael's on any of our social platforms, and using the hashtags that I provided earlier. So of course it's hashtag Make It With Michaels and also hashtag Learn With Michaels. And as far as Derwent or for Sam, I'll let her tell you where you can share your paintings as well.
Yeah, my Instagram is SDion Baker Design. SDION BAKER DESIGN, the SDion Baker Design. I do have a background in design, so the name has held over. But as when you if you aren't familiar with my account, you'll see it's mostly drawings. And yeah, please tag me. I would love to share it. I would love to see. And yeah, so I just went over it with the white. And as you can see, it's super opaque. And the background, it's like wonky. Like I fill it in, but I also don't in areas. And that's just my personal style. So there probably could be more depth to the windows. They're a little flat, but you know, you can only do so much in an hour. But again, I'm not making this look real. Like it's just fun. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this. If anybody ever has questions, reach out. If you want to learn about any classes that I'm doing in the future, the best thing is to join my mailing list. Oh, there I am. Hi. The best thing is to join my mailing list, which is on my website, sdionbaker.com. And yeah, thank you. Follow along, interpret it as you please. But just like you just want those basic shapes, it's pretty simple. And I'm excited to see what you all do. So thank you. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Use your storefront as a card or give it to someone, I hope. Thank you. Are we done, Felicia?
We are done. I was waiting on you. Make sure you say that. All right.
I mean, I'll
Everyone
stay and answer questions.
Yes.
I really will, but I think I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to be
Understand.
anywhere, but
Yeah.
just reach out. Should I put it in the chat?
You can do that real quick, and then once you do that, we'll go ahead and just end the class.
Okay. So Dion Baker Design is my Instagram, and then my website. Whoops. That's my website. So join my mailing list. You can also, I'm actually hosting a meetup for subscribers, and you'll find everything out if you go to my website and my Instagram. Thank you.